Good day. This is Jim. Sawlogs Plastic Hubs is my shop name. My channel name is Jim Deadman. Welcome to my machining videos that I'm putting out on YouTube for your pleasure, entertainment, and some education. Today's video will be whatever that the title of the video is that I'm working on. It's just a new kind of introduction that I'm going to put out there. A little bit about myself that maybe hasn't been put out in my other videos, just for general information for you guys. I'm a retired employee who worked in the machining area of Eaton Corporation for 40 years. So a lot of my time there was spent, about half of it was spent with CNC lathes, which I'm intimately familiar with. My early career, for about 3 years, I apprenticed in a local machine shop, and that's where I learned some of the basic skills that I use today. So my shop is something that I just work on projects, things I want to do here at home. So I hope you enjoy these videos. There's a lot of them I already have shot. We'll keep shooting more for you. There's things that you can do in your own home shop with minimal expertise, I'm going to say sometimes. I do take on some difficult little projects from time to time that's involved. Some of the things I do, I will be honest, it's probably more trouble than worth, but like I'm fond of saying, I'm retired and got more time than I have money sometimes. And that was part of the goal of setting this shop up, is to keep myself busy in my retirement. Because after spending so many years in a heavy overtime environment that I work for Eaton, this is a relaxation. I can come out and work 3 or 4 hours and walk away. So I try not to take on very many long, big projects for other people. I will if I'm pinched. If somebody asks me to help them out, I'll be glad to. So on today to today's project, whatever it may be. And I hope you enjoy the video and whatever I'm producing today. And like I say, enjoy. And if you like what you see, please comment, rate, subscribe. I do appreciate it. Thank you so much. And enjoy. I decided, after looking, since this block is thicker and all, and I really debated on it, I decided to go ahead and do it 3/4. So I went ahead and took a 5/8 cut, or 3/8 cut, and just to change my mind in the middle of it. I mean, these are thicker blocks. The 5/8 would be really nice for what we want to do. So we're going to go with 5/8 through the whole thing. So this is the first pass. I'm not going to bore you with the milling, but I'm going to give you insight in how I'm thinking. The depth's a 1/2 inch, and it's still going to be thicker a little here than it would normally be with a normal holder. So what we were going to do here is 1/2 inch. I'm actually was 42 thousandths deep. So I moved the dial back to 58. I'm going to make this cut here approximately 58 thousandths across. Then I'm going to mic it again and make sure I'm at 100. So what I'm going to do, that way I'll have a note here. And that way then every time I move the dial, I can keep up where I'm at. So that's just the way I'm going to do this. Since, I'm working off the knee and only have a 2-axis readout. Okay, well, have a good one. We'll get back to you in a minute. I don't know if you can see this or not, but I was taking about a 50 thousandths cut and not being aggressive. I was sitting here at the stool watching this thing machine, and all of a sudden this block started moving. And I'm with great care to machine everything the same. So evidently either it wasn't tight enough or wasn't grabbing both blocks equally. So I just stopped and redid my setup, put a piece of wire in it just to take up anything, and how to watch my cuts. Because I want to do these in units because it's simpler. I could have theoretically cut these 2 blocks and put less than 1 piece to this operation. But I want to have them the same width because when I dovetail, I want to do the same thing. So I'm able to take advantage of just making, I'm going to turn them long ways and use higher feeds to work. So that's what we're working on. That's the last pass right there of the depth, right down to a 1/2 inch. That's going to be, like I said, this is going to be like a 3/4 block, so it's going to be a little different. So there we go. I'm not going to show milling the dovetail. I have showed making dovetails for I don't know how long on my channel. You can go back to any other video that I've done to see the dovetail process, but I am going to make a few notes and show you my thought process as we go along. Basically, this is why I wanted to make these blocks, all the milling in the excuse me, the last video you seen, so I could do all this and get these dovetails lined up in this direction. You can mill dovetails in the y-axis, and I've done it and it works well. However, I'd prefer just to use a power feed. So what I've done is you got to get the flat in the middle. So this 420 thousandths number written on my vise is the depth. The 375 is how much I got to offset my 3/4 inch milling cutter to give me the proper width, which is 1 inch 410 thousandths. So what we'll do is we'll do the 2 offsets, recheck everything again, make sure everything's right, and then what we'll do is once we get that right, we'll work from one offset to the next, and then the cut's coming down. So it's a simple matter, just milling a flat slot down to the depth. And I just use a tool block. I just measure. Whenever I do these, I just take a tool block, and that's what I work off of as my guide as far as how to cut the dovetail. So this is why everything is set up in this direction the way it is. One of these slots down here in the bottom, which way they face is immaterial as long as they're facing long ways. You know, so as far as where the high thick side, thin side is, it doesn't matter which way I've rotated them as long as my grooves are running parallel to the vise. So that's what we're going to be doing. Just kind of quick. Like I say, I'm not going to show milling the dovetail. I've showed enough of it, and there's plenty of my videos that's guided to other people. And you know, I don't feel like emptying the chamber on the horse is already being killed. That's right. I'm just showing the math, and I've actually redone this is a little different. It's actually I double checked my math. I always double and triple check your math, your measurements, because especially when something, this isn't as critical as the dovetail fits, but we're going to kind of hand fit them anyway. But the bottom line is the offset needs to be 330 thousandths. So we're going to try that and then measure it and check it again and keep going. So I'm not going to bore you with the dovetails, I say, but this is just showing you the setup where I make the note and how, let me raise you up, how I've got them set in the, and kind of back this off a second, how I've got the mill set up. So that's where we at. Okay, there we got it milled out, and I probably could get more aggressive, but I'm trying to be conservative and not make mistakes. And again, this is a hobby and not a trying to profitable making money project. So basically what I've done now is I've got the width I need here and the depth milled out. So we'll set up through the dovetails next, and after we do the dovetails, then we'll kind of do the rest of the, you know, we'll have to turn them over, drill and tap them and all that stuff. So we got to get all that together. So pretty much, you know, we're moving right along. So this is where we're coming along at and hanging in there. So I thought I'd shoot you an update. I'm gonna go in for lunch and we'll work on it some more. Now the deeper I go, the conservativer I get. I need about 1 inch 80 thousandths or 81. So right now I'm getting right around 60 and a half. So I'm within about 20 thousandths, which is pretty good. And this is where you've got to be careful, and this is also why I do what I do with the DRO. I mean, you really need to be able to do this. Alright, now let me cut the camera off, reposition it, and I'll show you what we're going to do. Now what I did was mic this one, and according to my measurements I'm 2 or 3 thousandths smaller than the sample, but there's some tolerance in here. So what I do, I have an extra block. This is the one that come on my Grizzly and I wasn't happy with, so I slid it into both of them. So now I have the dovetails. Now what I'm going to do is I'm pretty confident it's going to work on the lathe. So we're going to go over here to the lathe in just a second, take them out and check it. Now, you would think when you're laying out these bolt holes that everything would be symmetrical and you could just lay them out in a pattern and just skip a couple spots around to where you're drilling. I want to put 4 bolts in it. I was looking at the other one and it isn't lined up in any pattern. So I had to do a lot of head scratching and measuring off camera. But what I ended up doing was putting my adjuster in here and kind of drawing a few lines and measuring and playing with the DRO and a little square. And what I'm going to do to make everything look symmetrical is go 1/4 inch 250, then 625, which will keep this sort of symmetrical off of each end. Since you can't put this whole pattern in DRO, what I've done is laid the numbers out. So from this side, we'll have a 2 inch 2175, so I've got the numbers written down, and that's the way we're going to do it to get us somewhat of a symmetrical hole pattern. So now we just get ready and set up and drill and do all what we got to do. I mean, the drill's on center and everything's laid out, so that took a little bit of head scratching. Okay, there is where we at, and I'm going to probably, I've got some things to do the rest of the day, stuff like that. I'll probably just leave the shop today, but this is where I'm at. This is basically they're complete. Now I chose to use 1/4-20. This is something I like, and one of the things that I'm going to say is this is right here was not an easy job to figure out. There's no real pattern to them. The originals didn't have a pattern, and to me it was more important to be symmetrical. And this isn't the adjuster, by the way, but I'll just put this on there just to show you. So you see what I was trying to do. So what I ended up doing is we marked this off and laid a piece of paper here actually and moved it off what I wanted to be here, and then split the difference here between the center of this hole and the center. Basically eyeballed it to get a number I wanted, put them all in the DRO and said this is how we're going to do it. It actually is about 10 or 12 thousandths difference than what I thought when I first, after about 3 different attempts. I'm well pleased because this is nice and even. The original, if you'll notice, they kind of did the same thing. They kept this space here, and then you didn't have the different spaces to the end. And so I guess what they did was line it up something similar. They probably had somebody designed it and CAD drawed it and all this good stuff. We had to redneck engineer this and eyeball it, but that's why I couldn't put a bolt pattern in. My original idea was to say put in a 6-bolt or 8-bolt pattern, and every time I figured it out and started checking behind it, it just was not going to work out the way that I felt like it needed to. So I power tapped all these because it's a through hole. So these have a little wider groove. These would be what you call an XL. The block's a little taller. So I already have some adjusters already made up. So that's what the adjuster was laid here for, to help me lay all this out. So now all I got to do is put my screws and adjusters in, and if I want to heat them and do that to them, which probably the next thing I'll do is I'll probably heat them up for an hour or so and let them set out in the toaster oven and then dump them in oil and give them a little bit of a color. So they won't be black, but they'll have a color. So until we get back to this, I'll bring you along. And I'm really not sure how many parts or how much editing I'm going to do once I get into this. So hang loose and you'll see me later. I know my air conditioner's running. We live in the South. It gets warm here. Sounds silly. One of the most handiest tools I have made myself in my shop or modified is this little vise. This is you've seen the vise, you've seen the video. But with these aluminum jaws, a lot of these little projects like this is so nice. I'm going to check, and if this works, I'll just cut another one before we lock tight. I got that tight this morning there. What I'm doing, and this will probably, get in a separate video, but for stuff, I do a lot of stuff like this, cut threaded rod. The project where I make these tool blocks, and I know you can buy them. But, when I make these in my tool holders and stuff in my shop, and you've heard me say this a couple of times, that these don't need the strength. This isn't about the tool block. So 1/4 inch threaded rod that you get at the hardware store or something is really handy. So I'm going to go check something here in a minute when I get it ready. One thing you can do, you can call this a tip or whatever, if you've already got tools on center, you can just simply take apart. I just went out to my scrap bin. This is actually a piece of aluminum I bought the other day, and just blued it up and took my main turning tool, which I know is on center, and just pulled across it, made a line. So now I can line the tool right up. So that's how I centered this one. And the reason is, this one here I want to put back in a block. This is a facing tool. You can see the MG inserts that was a gift from me from Tom down at Hilltop. So let me turn you around and let you see the completed thing mounted up. Now there's my completed tool holder. Yes, I've done a few changes from the ones that you buy. So there is basically I use 1/4 20 set screws. That's just convenient. I could have bought metrics. I use 1/4 20 studs too. And again, and I'll repeat this, I have a lot of tools, and I'll pull my favorite tool out here. I got a little crazy on this one and made a brass threaded center, but basically all this stud, and I'll just use this tool, does is just hold it in position. It doesn't need a lot of strength, because basically all this stud does is right there. Once you clamp down on them dovetails, this here's all that does is hold it in center. All your clamping is done in the dovetails or pushed out by the piston, no matter depending on which tool you're using. So that's why I just use 1/4 20. You can pick threaded rod up at any hardware store, and it's handy. So there's the completed project. All right, I don't know how this is going to look. My camera shows upside down. In closing on this series of videos, I want to make a couple of things clear. One, this is not a financially practical thing to make in a home shop. These Shaw's blocks, this is for a BXA or 200 style, are fairly inexpensive. I think these run, depending on who you buy them from and whatever, you can get these things between $15 and $20. And with shipping. Now with our metal tariffs, it may be a little higher now. I don't know, some of the stuff's going up. Plus you have to buy the steel and the time. I've probably got a good probably 8 to 10 hours. Now, of course, I didn't take a lot of aggressive cuts. This is the completed one you've seen in the lathe that I got a tool in. This one here is the facing tool, the MCKNR, that Tom down Hilltop gave me that I had to take out of the extra block I had. And then this is the extra block. That's the only extra block I actually have. And so right now, and if you'll notice, the screws are different, and the reason behind that is I went to local hardware and I picked up hardware. A big mistake. I should have looked and should have went to the bolt supply and bought 25 bolts. I got like stuff, these 1 inches is 80 something cent a piece for set screws, 1 inch set screws. I believe I could have done a little better buying them in bulk. You live, you learn, and I didn't want to buy a whole lot, and I just didn't do it. You'll notice it's got this little golden color to it. You know, basically, again, I put these in the toaster oven, got them up to 400 and got them good and hot and dunked them in oil. And actually, I dunked these in used motor oil and I changed my mower. I don't do my own oil changes. The other thing, you know, we talked about 1/4 and I'll kind of spread this out so maybe you can see it. See, I always just put, this is a standard nut lot washer and then my homemade knurled aluminum tops. So this one's already been set and tightened with the lot washer. Usually the factory ones, they use a little wave washer, but you could use a lot washer. If you wanted to be a little fancier, you could probably get one of them cast steel type lot washers. But again, what I do is like this one's set and it's loaded on my machine, and I just tightened it down with a wrench. Now it's set and never moves. That's the plan anyway. So would I do this again? Maybe. I've got a chunk of steel. I might make some more just because I've got pieces of steel around here. And I'm retired and have the time. Now, is it practical to go out and buy steel to make these? No. And I'll be up front, and I'm not discouraged. But if you want a little fun project, or you pick up a piece of steel somewhere for basically a gift or next to nothing, I know a lot of us come across stuff like that, then it's real worth it. I mean, I let this piece rust. I had the piece probably 4 or 5 years, and I actually bought the material for another project of making a cutoff holder for the old lathe when I lived up in Statesville on the little bitty mill. And that was a leftover. I bought it off of eBay, actually. I just didn't even go to the scrapyard. So it's been laying in my metal inventory for 4 years or better. So, and I still got a piece left. So this is, as I say, when you got more time than money sometimes. And probably outside, I don't really know what I've got in a piece of material. I think it was probably, at the time I bought it, was under $20, and I've got, I basically got 3 tools. A cutoff tool was made and get when I sold the other machine, and these 2. So I've got 3 tool blocks out of it, and one of them's a cutoff. So I basically got, let's just say for sake of argument, $45 worth of tool blocks out of it. And so let's say I had $20 in the steel, because I can't remember. I got about $6 in the screws, a piece of threaded rod. You know, they're about $2 or $3, and I've been using it forever. And the aluminum, the aluminum for this is probably 50 cent worth nowadays. So material wise, I probably got in each one of these blocks about probably close to $8. So the rest of it's my time. So, you know, I consider it a worthwhile something to do when you got time. It's just a good little shop project, especially cutting the dovetails. And the main thing with my tools, if you notice, I've got so many of the older tools cut back. I don't use as many blocks as other people because a lot of my inserts and stuff just mounted straight up. This is for stuff like where I made this tool for reliefs on the threads or something. I got a little high-speed steel. I really need about 2 or 3 more open blocks that I don't have. So I may end up having to sit down and machine me some more one day and I get the time. So people, I hope you enjoyed this video series on when you have more time than money. Also go back and look at the video where I detailed how I set up personally my dovetails in the center here for you to look. Tried to put it on a good many Facebook groups that I belong to, and Facebook seems to think I was spamming, so I've got to be a little more careful about that. Hopefully that I told them it wasn't spam. Maybe they'll release some of them, but you know, in our world nowadays things are that way. So enjoy. I hope you enjoy the video series. Thank you.